Joystick Show.
How's it, everybody? We is the Joystick Show. You know, your three favorite friends from Hawaii have gathered once again to talk about the latest things we've read, watched, or played. And we'll share our shtick with you, so thanks for sticking around. If you fancy what you hear, please like and subscribe on the platform you frequent. It helps when you like and share. I'm your co-host Drake, and that's Scott.
How's it?
You'll notice that we don't have our fearless friend, Thomas, because he has things he has to do. So
Yep.
Scott and I are taking that baton and we're putting it betwixt our legs and walking down the street with it for all to see. So
Yeah, we're doing a great job, I think, so far.
yeah, we haven't blown it up. We haven't crashed. We haven't been arrested. So that's super great.
Always a positive.
Always a positive. And so Scott and I are going to keep it nice and sweet tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about Henry Cavill and his reboot of The Highlander. And Marvel and another company, who I will mention when we start talking about it, has created an app called Marvel Move, which is a fitness app. And we'll talk about that because that's super interesting. And Scott got to watch Themeg too, so we'll dive in so that we can chomp down on all of that knowledge. And obviously, episode 3 of Ahsoka came out, so we got to talk about it because that's all the rage. So, Scott, what do you remember about Highlander in general, aside from the fact that I think it was on USA TV channel, right?
I think. I'm ashamed to say I don't know a lot about Highlander. I know it was like a really popular show. I know that in order to die, you had to get your head chopped off. Otherwise, you're immortal, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that what it is? Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
And then Sean Connery.
Oh, yeah, Sean Connery.
Right? Wasn't he in Highlander?
Yes, Sean Connery's in Highlander. I think another dude, Raiden from, what is that called? Mortal Kombat was in
Mortal
there.
Kombat.
The original Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's pretty cool. I don't know. I feel like Henry Cavill is such a individual who loves all of these like pop cultural / like TV comic phenomena that he has a really great grasp of it. So I'm kind of excited to see how they can kind of bring the Highlander into this century, because it was really, really old previously.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think, like you're saying, Henry Cavill, he can do a great job. Like we've already seen him as The Witcher.
Yeah.
And he's like crushing it as that. We know people want to see him be muscular and have a sword in his hand. And we know he's a nerd. We know if he does this, he would do the research and like do the best he could to make it as true to the source material as possible. So no doubt he'd be a great Highlander. Who's like directing this?
Oh man, I do not remember. Let's go
Was it
to
Jamie?
Jamie.
Was it Zack Snyder?
Zack Snyder.
Is that what I read?
To the show notes. You know, when you type up Highlander, the first thing that comes up is Toyota Highlander. So
No, actually, okay, it's John Wick director, Chad Stahelski, which is that's cool.
So could it be John? Oh, I mean, if it's John Wicky in terms of action, but Highlander background, that's kind of neat.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, I'm down for it. I'd definitely tune in.
Whoa, I do. That could be interesting, like a Doctor Who, right? Because the Highlander in themselves, once you cut off another Highlander's head, you gain their power, you live longer. So if there's multiple different Highlanders and or generations of Highlanders, you could kind of Doctor Who it, especially if it has that John Wick vibe that has that longevity. That could be really good.
Yeah, it's a cool way to pass the baton, as you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, I feel like is that Doctor Who is probably one of the only shows that passes the baton like that, where you have consistently new main characters.
Yeah, and it's like accepted and understood in the show. Because he like transforms into this new character.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see how Witcher does it. If it's gonna be along those same lines, where like everyone recognizes like, oh, you used to look this way, now you look this way, or they're just gonna
glance over it,
pretend like you never changed. Like in Doctor Who, it's mentioned like even his taste buds will change. He's like, I used to love this, and he's like, oh, I hate this now. So he's almost a totally different person.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I wish more things did that. I guess Ahsoka is kind of doing that. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Any hoosers. Moving on to Marvel Move, which we, as we were both looking at it, we were like, is this a real thing? But it happens to be a real thing. And from what we read on the article in CBR is that it's going to team up with a company called Six to Start. And it's essentially a fitness app. And from what we've seen in the trailer, is like a Marvel character voice in your head. And it's kind of narrating you through some scenarios, almost like imagination come to life. Is that kind of what you get from that?
Yeah, it seemed like you were kind of in on their adventure. It, from what the trailer made it seem, is like it's an issue of a comic book and you're a character in it. So like they check in on you, they keep it going, we need to move here, but you hear battle going on, you hear the hero talking smack to the villain. Very interesting. I still would want to see more on it.
For sure.
When I heard about it, it's not what I expected. I thought it was like in order to get like pecs like the Hulk, you would need to do these exercises or something like that.
Yeah.
You know? But this is like very like you got the Hulk in your ears telling you to run and push it. So very interesting.
Yeah, I initially thought it was gonna be like a Wii Fit where it's like motion tracking you, and then it's showing you as a character, maybe within kind of like this 3-dimensional realm, and you're kind of like almost being a hero in that situation, and then kind of going off of like movement and stuff. But with this, it definitely it pretty much just showed two human beings listening to voice acting in their head, and then just like doing the things
like an audible.
Yeah, which
I even thought it'd be more like Thor leading a Zumba class.
Yeah,
or something. Like just put that.
Thor leading a Zumba class would be super exciting.
That'd be pretty great.
Yeah.
It just puts like a CG thing over a person actually just leading it. And it's just like Thor's voice. Like that'd be pretty.
That'd
awesome.
be so tight. Coming to a city near you. I thought it was interesting that Marvel in itself is entering this market. Because in terms of the demographic of individuals who watch Marvel, you're talking about, and forgive me, but like the stereotypical nerd is the person who is maybe less physically available. We'll put it in PC terms. Maybe doesn't necessarily have the best social skills. Maybe doesn't have the best fitness, right? And or like a child, a youth now from like the Disney realm. And then your OG individuals who like Henry Cavill are like a nerd, right? So in terms of demographic, who is really going to use this? What does that say about the necessity for it? What does it say about our society if we do accept it as like the next big thing? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's a good point. Because like the commercial shows 2 adults doing it. It would have been, I don't know. Yeah, like who are they making it for? Like if they showed kids going like, oh, this is how I'm going to get into like exercising at a young age.
Yeah.
That'd make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
2 adults tuning in. If they're running already, like if they're bored of their run and they want to try a different thing, like audiobooks are just not getting it. And I'm running the same track. I want to listen to Cyclops ordering me around as an X-Men member or something. Like it sounds like a very niche type of thing.
Talk about it.
Like very niche.
So niche.
Like yeah, I could ask all my friends, including you, and I'd probably say when they first tell me about it, they're like, I'm probably not gonna get it. But I want to see I'd want to see how it fully functions first before like diving in. Like this isn't like a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird concept.
Yeah. I mean
like, and they're leaning hard into one thing.
I guess.
Yeah, it's weird.
It opens.
Is it a choose your own adventure book? Like you're running, you're like, what do you do? And you're like, dodge. And you're like, oh.
And
like,
then you
I don't know.
move and play. Like, how does it know? Like what? Like,
yeah.
I guess from like an imaginary standpoint, like when you're kids and you're like, oh, I'm going to be this character and you're those characters, and you kind of act them out. It's not lesser than, but it's on a similar vibe as that. And I guess
Yeah.
if you're running and then Cyclops is like, oh, there's a sentinel behind you, sprint faster, and then you do, right? But then if it's not timing your biometrics, like then it's not truly interacting. Really what you're doing is you're following a prompt, which I guess is exercise to a degree, but I don't know how it changes the game per se.
Yeah.
But I guess it is.
I'm just imagining an adult like, man, I wish I was being chased by lasers right now.
I know, it's so ridiculous.
Finally, an app for you. Like,
You're in the red room.
yeah. Yeah, go.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, it seems cool. It just seems very niche. Like, yeah, I'm interested to see how well it does. Because obviously, something like this seems like you put a lot of money into making it.
yeah, gotta be.
So when you do something like that, you'd want like the biggest array of people using it.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, it's interesting. I'm interested to see if it does like get someone that's like, hey, I don't normally work out, but this is finally an entryway into doing it or something.
Yeah.
They also just showed running. I wonder if there's gonna be like, like at home workout situations or something. Like you said, Red Room.
Yeah.
Like if it's like, oh, if you've got a space around this and this like feet, listen to this, and then it makes full use of or something. That'd be kind of cool.
If it was VR, so imagine.
Well, if it was VR, that'd be sick.
If it was,
that'd be a whole other thing.
Yeah, dude. If it was VR, you put it on, and obviously it's attached to you, and then you wear like a low budget suit, and then you start doing the moves, and then the more cooler shit you can do as a person, it reflects in the VR situation. So maybe that'll help prime you to want to do more potentially.
Yeah, because it would be similar to like those boxing games and stuff they have on the VR. Like they have workout ones that are kind of like a Beat Saber, which works in the same way as like those old Guitar Hero games, like where it's coming at you and you gotta, but it's boxing and you gotta like punch, duck, and like move and stuff. But if they had it where like you're dodging rubble and like you have to like maybe Captain America like throws you a shield and you gotta like catch it and like throw it back to something, or that'd be kind of cool. That would be tight. That would be cool.
Yeah,
but
that's fitness.
That right there, sign me up.
That's fitness, guys.
Yeah, that's fitness. That's gonna be their tag. That's fitness.
Well, in terms of Marvel move, their hope is that, and they quote, the collaboration with Marvel will bring health and excitement to even more people across the globe, and they say that it is seamlessly merging the worlds of fitness and comics, which I guess are two things that can work and maybe will work. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, overall, I think if the goal is to make people more healthy and like want to get moving and use their body so they live longer and like live healthier, overall that's great. I can support that.
Can't hate that.
I'm just interested to see if this is the thing that's going to grab people and be like, yes.
Well, the big question here, Scott, is Marvel Move going to get you in shape to stay out of reach of the Meg 2?
That is a great question. Because I don't think anything is out of reach of the Meg in Meg 2.
Okay. So the Meg is more Meggier in Meg 2? Or how would you describe?
Yeah, there's so much more Meg in this Meg movie. If you want to just go spoilers because it's fun.
Yeah, spoiler.
Or we can do non-spoiler.
Yeah, let's do a non-spoiler with one drop with 1 ounce.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, of spoilers.
Okay, and I'll touch on things that you've seen in the trailer, so it's like not really spoilers, just talking about how kind of crazy.
Very generous, sir. Thank you.
Yep. So if you've seen the first Meg, they go down. They have to rescue, like, it's like the science facility that's like trying to discover stuff below, like dive down deeper than has ever been dove before. Whatever. And they find this like basically like like I guess what is it? The Godzilla King Kong situation where there's like
sleeping
prehistoric
giant?
things. When you go so deep, there's prehistoric area.
Okay.
Go below this cloud that trapped excuse me, like heated water down there, so like other certain life forms could live.
Okay.
And themeg lives there.
Oh, okay.
And, like, on top of like other like prehistoric kind of creatures. But so in the first one, they go down and the Meg follows them out. Like when they're leaving, it follows them through this heated water tunnel that they created while leaving. Like, and then it just causes a ruckus.
Obviously,
like those Megs do. Yeah, those sharks. And it's a big ass shark. It's a megalodon, and it starts killing people. So in this movie, they go back down.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Great.
Yeah, they know it came from there, and they're like, we got to keep going down there because we just got it. So they go down, and then, of course, it's filled with, like, the kid that's like, I want to go, too. And they're like, no, you're too young. And she's like, I'm going. And then she sneaks on and like, oh, we're turning this around. Everyone's like, we're already going. And they're like, fine, let's go. But if anything happens, we're turning it around. And I'm like, you already tried that. You're not turning it around. Like, what are you talking about? So they're going. And then something happens where they're like, that when they get down there, there's like these other people trying to take their technology that they're creating. They're basically creating like these super suits that like, kind of like an avatar, you can step in it like an exoskeleton thing.
Yeah.
And like that's part of the tech. They're trying to like they're making all these discoveries based on what they're finding down there.
Wow, okay.
And there's another company that's trying to take over because they find like there's like a rare like mineral that you can get tons of money off if they just focus on that. But this company that started, like, that's not our goal. And this other company's like, well, it should be because it ends up being like Avatar where they want this one thing to, like, get billions and millions of dollars, right? So they kind of get... So the first half of the movie, they're trapped down there. Like, Jason Statham and his team. And it turns into this whole, like... You see in the trailer, like, they're walking on the ocean floor with like these suits on.
Okay. Like
they're on another planet, but I'm like, I don't know how it's possible. Like the pressure down there is
crazy.
Supposed to be so crazy.
It's immense.
They justify it at one point because he swims out. I swear he swims out without a suit. And they were like, it only pressurized because there's no water. Like they say like pressure can't break water. So if you have water in you, then it won't crush you. So he like inhales water and starts swimming out there. And he's like, he's good for a minute. And I'm like, I don't know where you got that from, but okay.
So it's scientific. I get it.
It's super scientific. Like, yeah, you learn so much in this movie. And of course, the giant sharks. There's not just one. There's like 3 of them in this one. And like, yeah, it's crazy. Like all the things you want to happen. Like, you're like, oh, I hope someone dies like in this way. Or, you see the trailer, you're like, oh, I hope that's a cool scene. It is. Like, if it's exactly what you're expecting. It's not a great movie. The script's not great. Statham's in it, though. He's doing Statham-y things. Like, there's parts where he's fighting people, and I'm like, oh, cool. I don't remember him fighting in the first movie, but he knows how to fight now because he does that in other movies.
Yeah.
So he's doing that stuff. And, yeah, the shark's just, like, crushing people and, like, eating people, like, lots of people. So if this is what you want. I was telling you earlier, it's kind of like how everyone was like loving Sharknado and stuff, like all these kind of like cheesy movies. This is that if you threw like millions of dollars at it.
Okay.
You get to see cool CGI.
Yeah.
There's even like a giant octopus.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and that's pretty cool too. So you get kind of Kraken action in this.
Oh, yeah.
It's cool. It's like if you're ready for like a movie where you don't really even need to think about it. Just enjoy the action. Get some popcorn and a drink, Maybe laugh at it. Turn it into a drinking game. It's a good movie. I found that the Meg is like my Fast and the Furious. Like I don't like the Fast and the Furious, and I think they're dumb. But I know this is dumb, and for some reason I like it. Yeah. Sorry, all the Fast.
What about the family, huh?
I'm all about family. It's just they're turning to the Avengers and whatnot. But yeah. It's a good time, man.
Okay, so what you're saying is the Meg 2, great time. Go ahead and watch it because it's worth your time. Yeah. You can wait till you're at home, though. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's still playing. Oh, yeah. I forgot about theaters.
It might be kind of cool to see in theaters, but theaters are kind of expensive. Maybe we can skip this one. Just watch it at home. It would be interesting. So, you know how they've done drive-in theater, drive-through theater, drive-in theaters? Yeah. Right? So, imagine drive-in theaters with what is that? What would we call that? Not a dyno, but like a treadmill, but for your car, and then you're watching a car specific movie, so it feels like you're in the movie. So what if then you have a pool
theater and you're watching the
That would
Meg,
be okay.
right?
I've heard that they've done these with Jaws.
Oh,
Either they watch it out. I want to say in a big pool, but maybe even on the ocean, like right in the shallow
that'd be
area.
fucking.
And they got Jaws playing like on a big inflatable.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd even do that. That's fucking creepy.
Yeah, that's like That's like being in the bathroom with the door closed with the lights off and going Bloody Mary twice. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just playing with fire.
And then just like that. But then you've also heard reports that Bloody Mary sometimes came out.
And
killed people.
Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to.
But that would be cool.
That would be super cool. Immersive theater experiences, I think, is an untapped situation. But obviously, it would be so hard to plan. Like if you're,
you know, it'd be fun. You go to excuse me. Sorry, one second. Find yourself like an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Yeah.
And then do that. Float on there. Turn all the lights off, and then have it like projecting on the wall. You know, there's no sharks, but that fucking is deep. And
crazy.
Oh my god, that would
That'd
take that
intense.
movie up another level.
That'd be intense. Somehow I'm thinking about like interactive movies. Like it's not really a movie; it's an interactive experience where like, but without physical touch, because you know people would be afraid to get touched or like hit. Like when you go to a haunted house and you don't have to fill out a waiver. You know what I mean? The allure of like fear kind of. You know they can't touch you because it could be a lawsuit kind of a situation. So
they have those 4D movie theaters.
What is the Forest
something different than that? I think what it is like the seats will rumble. Sometimes air gets pushed in to like different parts by your feet, face. I think sometimes it'll sprinkle you with water.
Yeah.
I don't know how clean that water is.
But I know, yeah.
And then that sort of stuff.
I mean, I
think takes you another. I kind of want to see Mario in that, but I missed my window. That would have been kind of fun. Like an Avatar situation, like a leaf is being moved and it splashes and you get that light mist of it. Like that could be that'd be cool.
Cool. For some reason, I'm thinking about like I guess I'm just thinking about not haunted house type activities. So like it's not a haunted house, but it's like a different. Kind of like an escape room, but you're not escaping, or like a murder mystery, but it's not about murder. You know what I mean? Like things like that where you can do in groups where you're, I guess, role playing. I guess LARPing is what I'm saying. You're LARPing. Live action role playing.
But with movies?
But with like movies or themes or.
Bring that to a theater experience.
Yeah. Like in order to watch the movie, you have to like do an escape room as like a group or whatever. Like like a. Sort of like an activity.
That could be kind of cool, actually. Turn it into a whole thing.
Yeah. Into a
like
thing.
a little immersive experience, and then maybe it just leads up to the movie, and then when you're done, you're out.
Yeah.
But something before the movie, that'd be cool.
You can like feel like you're a part of the movie. I do kind of wish we could have that because do you remember your lightsaber experience when you went to the lightsaber spot in Disneyland?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if you did that before you got into the third episode of Ahsoka. How would that make you feel?
Dude, if I did that right before Ahsoka, that would have been sick. Because then you're watching it with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
You feel like you went through the same trials, not really, as Ahsoka to get your lightsaber. You know, it's a little more immersive. But that's a good idea. You know, next episode, I got my lightsaber. I see it in the corner of my eye. I'm just gonna whip that bad boy out. Watch. Yeah.
Episode 4.
Yeah. How'd you like episode 3?
Episode 3. Okay, I wrote some notes on it because it was a real nice. So I'm gonna be glancing over at them like so. But first and foremost, I think again. I know this wasn't Dave Filoni, but the way that Dave Filoni set up the first episode, there's a lot more directorial nods towards Dave Filoni's initial direction. Just with like the blocking, the scenes, and I'll get into it, like the lack of dialogue. I love the lack of dialogue and just the showing. Mainly because a lot of the times now when you're given these characters, they have to like act as if they are above their pay grade. And with Ahsoka, we already have the rebels, but also there's a lot more showing than there is talking. They don't use the dialogue to drive the story, which I think is real good. And I guess you could make the argument that they do use dialogue to drive the story, but I'm looking at it from the standpoint of less is more, and what I'm viewing is more of the less. So
Yeah.
I love more of the Japanese kendo and boken training accents. When Ahsoka was training Sabine, you got that really kind of like slow shot. They spent a lot of time on this, and I think it's because, again, they're showing more of like what they have to go through, because you have to believe Sabine is going to have this character arc, and you have to believe that Ahsoka's going to have it, and I think they do it well in this scene in particular, because the dialogue and between Ahsoka and Sabine shows the tension and also the intention. Like you know what Ahsoka's trying to do, and you know what Sabine can't do, according to what we've seen in past Star Wars canon, right? Moving a little bit forward, I like the return of Mon Mothma, just because we've seen her in Andor, and I believe we've seen her in other things as well too. So to see that kind of recurring character was real nice. And then when Hera is kind of discussing some of those things with the council or the Senate, and then you see her son Jason, that little kid who runs up to her, and he's like, "Mom, something or other," and I was like, I had to pause, and I was like, "Whoa, did Hera have a kid?" And his name is Jason, and the dad is Kanan Jarrus, because Hera and Kanan had like a love situation in the Rebels. So go ahead and watch that so you can get a little bit more context. But to me, my first question was, is he Force sensitive? And it's interesting because it's bringing back some of the expanded universe situation, because Jason Solo was the original Ben Solo, right? On top of that, when you look at Hera and Kanan Jarrus, they're a pilot and like a captain, much like how Han Solo was, and a Force sensitive Kanan Jarrus and Princess Leia. So it's an interesting parallel to see that, and hopefully we'll see more of Jason moving forward. And then another scene that comes to mind is when Ahsoka comes and sits down next to Sabine, and she pulls that cup over to her slowly, drinks it, and she's like, just start with the little things, etc., etc. Again, the lack of dialogue, the more of the showing in the film in itself, and seeing how Ahsoka's teachings are not only intentional, but you can kind of see how it transitions from her being an apprentice to the eventual Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, and what she believes is the right way to do it. Assumedly because she's also seen Luke do it as well too, right? Because we've seen her and Luke interact, or at least be in the same place at the same time. But it does kind of set a precedent for, well, if Sabine does eventually use the Force, then midichlorians don't matter. So it's almost like a soft reset, right? Midichlorians don't matter. Anybody can learn to use the Force, which may or may not be true, but we were told, right, Phantom Menace, that midichlorians exist. The higher your midichlorians, the more powerful a Force user you can be. So in terms of that, just training, it then sets another precedent to say that the Star Wars world is now a little bit more tangible, right? Like it's giving you the message that anybody can become what they want as long as they train. And in that sense, the whole Ahsoka situation is kind of doubling down on the idea of the female character that is a boss based off of show not tell, and kind of changing the idea and the dynamic of like how to be a Star Wars situation, because we're so used to the male character, lightsaber, part of the Skywalker family, etc., etc. And in the Master Padawan thing not being effective, and moving away from that too, so it's kind of, again, changing the dynamic of I guess Star Wars, to which we touched upon a little bit earlier before we jumped on. But when Ahsoka chose to ask Sabine what she needs, right? That's kind of a very much a now thing. because it wasn't that way back then. You're not, when you're training somebody in martial arts, you're not asking them what they need. You're telling them what to do, and they need to get to that level. And by asking Sabine what she needs, and they were able to utilize teamwork instead of that master Padawan situation, not necessarily coddling, but using positive reinforcement, which the old ways wouldn't have necessarily done, right? Considering Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. So you have that non-traditional candidate becoming a Jedi, which is Sabine, which again brings on that new idea of what is a Jedi. And I think it's changing that dynamic, maybe for the better. And, obviously I can see in the opposite direction, but one of the funniest things to me was just Ahsoka protecting the ship in a spacesuit, and I thought, space Jedi, even though they're in space. You know what I mean?
That part kind of threw me off, because I was like, why would the ships just shoot her?
Yeah,
shoot the ship.
Yeah, shoot the ship.
There's
She's
more
on
ship.
the ship. Yeah,
they could have just killed the ship and then she died.
Yeah,
I was like, it was cool though. Granted, it was cool seeing her just deflect stuff, but I was just like, this makes no sense. These are the dumbest bad guys, ever. They're so good at shooting. They're shooting her. Shoot all around the ship.
Yeah, I know. That's
what's cool though. And then when she was fooling around, I thought she was gonna pull a Leia and pull herself towards the ship.
Why couldn't she?
Because we've seen it. Yeah, I don't know.
That's weird.
You got to be that we rarely seen Leia do anything, and so it didn't seem like you needed to be that high level or discipline in the Force to do that sort of thing. As long as you had it.
Yeah.
Why not? If the object's bigger than you, I would assume it worked like a magnet. But
weird.
Who knows? She had to get picked up just in time, swooped in. All very cool. If you just try not to overthink it.
Yeah.
That whole scene was cool, and it was going back to the showing and not telling. It was just cool to see them kind of playing out the fight. Their little dialogue. You're getting at what they're trying to do, but not breaking down the scene of why this is that and why this and that. They're just doing it, and you're seeing it. It all makes sense. And then just her and the little jabs with what's her name? The
robot?
Morgan.
Morgan Elsbeth.
Morgan and Shin, when they're like, oh, you almost got her, I got it now. Yeah. Just those little back and forth, you're like, yeah, they don't like each other.
Yeah.
They don't have to tell you about it, you just know. And then especially Hu Yang and Ahsoka is great. Their little dialogue and stuff, because he's programmed that way, so it's she's arguing with the program. But then there's times where he seems like he's very much alive. And that was so great comedically, and data scan done, and then just blows up or whatever he gets shot at, and then he goes down. But that was so cool, all of that. I haven't really watched Rebels, so the scene where she sees where Hera sees her son.
Oh yeah.
It's Mom. I was this feels like something that might be a oof moment if you watch Rebels.
For sure.
So I wanted to ask you about that because I didn't know any sort of her relationship in Rebels, but they still do a good job of keeping that in there for the fans, and then still not only if you know you can't enjoy the scene otherwise. It still fit the scene.
Yeah.
So she's a mother. There's things that she's fighting for other than herself. You know now that there's stuff on the back of her mind other than just when you have no family, you're just kind of looking out for the cause. But if she's also thinking about her son, this is a whole other thing that she has to deal with as a character.
Yeah.
So it was good. I'm really enjoying the show. We got to see Baylan.
Yep.
A bit. I am interested to see because I don't know if do you think the whole show was shot before his passing, or
I would hope so, just because it ruins the continuity. I think if you it just wouldn't make sense unless they let's say Baylan did pass away before they finished. Mm-hmm. And then, for some reason, that one Inquisitor is still alive, and that happens to be the guy from the video games.
Yeah.
Then sure, you can transition to that, sure. But then that also doesn't explain why he's so crappy against Ahsoka, or maybe it does. He doesn't go all out against Ahsoka so that he can continue to live in Ahsoka, and maybe it shifts that way. But then that also it's pimping the Dark Jedi and then not following through, right? If only the Padawan lady is the bad person, but
yeah, that's true. Yeah, because at some point they're gonna have to unveil this masked person,
and
right?
Well, they're gonna. I mean, unless Morgan is the key or the main bad. Obviously, she's one of the main bad guys, but because of the Night Sisters, because of the prevalence in the video games, maybe that's where everybody's going, because they're bringing in the Night Sisters. That we'll get to see the video game crossover situation, and because Balin's gone, maybe that's the fit in. I can see how those dots connect.
Yeah.
What are you hoping happens? Like Balin.
I don't know. Like in regard to the whole Balin and Shin and whatnot. I'm not sure. I'm really unfamiliar with those characters. I'm just kind of enjoying them.
Yeah.
As I see them on the show. Like I like that every time we see them, there is a sense of danger.
Yeah.
For the main character. Like even though the show's called Ahsoka, it's still pretty close call. Like the way they go about it and like the way they get out of situations. I'm like, okay, that was cool. They didn't just like something dumb happened and they're like, oh, they escaped. You know, like it felt like they hid in the forest and all that stuff and they couldn't find them. And it felt like a natural escape. But in terms of Ahsoka and Sabine, it'd be cool to see her like tap into some sort of Jedi thing, even if it's not moving the cup. Maybe she picks up on like when she was training in battle, like being able to, because I'm assuming something's gonna happen in the show where maybe she's blinded or something and she can like use the Force in that way, like a Spidey sense of some sort. And then that could justify her like not having the high midichlorian. Like if they just made her a badass Jedi who's super powerful, then that would totally throw off the whole Jedi thing. But I would like to see her just have like just a hint of Jedi, but like more Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And be like a real practical Jedi. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, no, that'd be super tight.
I'm excited to see that. Hopefully they keep doing that.
One thing that I noticed about it is just over the course of time in Star Wars, whenever there's a family member involved, the stakes are always higher, and usually someone's losing something. Because aside from Leia and Luke, right? Once we've established that they're brother sister, then you kind of see, is Leia gonna survive? Is Luke gonna die in this instance when Darth Vader is cutting his hand off, and then you find out Darth Vader is the dad, and then he ends up dying, right?
Yeah.
And then in Phantom Menace, the mom dies, and then in all of the other or the last 3 Star Wars movies, Ben dies, the dad dies, Leia dies. So Boba Fett's son. Boba Fett dies, or Jango Fett dies, right? So Hera and Jason, we'll kind of see where that goes. Obviously, it's going to add a lot more stakes, like you talked about earlier. And another reason to watch the Rebels is because of the Purgies. When they get to that whale situation, they have all those.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
So they are able to travel at light speed. They can travel through hyperspace without any technology. And so within the show, the Rebels show, Ezra was able to take Thrawn away by kind of commandeering the Purgies, and then they warped Thrawn to a different galaxy. So that's why it matters.
Okay.
So the Purgies in themselves are a kind of a throwback to the possibility of Ezra being alive and Thrawn being alive, and also.
Oh, did he go with Ron?
Yes. So that's why in the first episode he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, what I had to do, blah blah blah. Sabine, you're like my sister, blah blah blah." So that adds a little bit more to it and gives it a little bit more weight, because we also know that Morgan is building a hyper ring.
Yeah.
A hyperspace ring, and if the Purgies are there, then there's that another layer of hyperspace is what they're trying to achieve. Finding Thrawn and Ezra, what they're trying to achieve. So they're doing it a lot through symbolism in this situation. So, it harkens back to how good Rebels was, especially coming off of how good, obviously Emmy Award winning, the Clone Wars was. So, I mean, Star Wars is just doing a really good job. Dave Filoni in general is doing a really good job at continuing the lore without crowding. I wish he did the last 3 Star Warses.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
now you have to
Yeah,
rewrite all that shit. So I don't know. Like, for you, what's your favorite thing about Star Wars, and how is Ahsoka not necessarily changing that, but moving that forward, in your opinion?
I think one of my favorite things about Star Wars, like if I think Star Wars, I always associate Jedi. They're always cool, you know. The Ahsoka's, I like Ahsoka's like non-traditional Jedi sort of formula that she has. What's cool about it for me is like it's less predictable. At least, I mean, I'm trying to like, when I watch it, I'm not trying to like, just because I don't know the cartoons and all stuff, I'm not trying to super dissect. I'm trying to just take it in as it's giving it to me. For me, like, it's not so predictable because she's not as traditional as like, you know, she's like open to like this give and take relationship with her. I guess like she hasn't, I don't think she's called her a Padawan yet, but like they're basically that, no labels. But like it feels like, yeah, it's cool. I'm interested to see. I actually want to see more of the training aspect because I know Ahsoka's a badass, and because I haven't watched Rebels or Clone Wars, like I haven't really got to see it. So from what I've seen so far, like she's given enough where she's shown she's very comfortable with her powers and ability. Very confident. Even, you know, like the simple like boss dodge of the boomerang lightsaber coming back, like she's like ain't nothing. You know, I'm like, dude, she's badass, and I can't wait for her to like maybe train Sabine up, where Sabine's like her right hand man. You know, just like another badass with a lightsaber. Like I'm looking forward to that. Maybe it's a really simple answer, but I definitely want to see more cool Jedi stuff, which they've been delivering. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, Ahsoka. Yeah, it's good. I look forward to watching it every week. And viewership, if you're not watching Ahsoka, you need to get on it as soon as possible.
Yes.
But to be honest, y'all, we've talked about what we came on to talk about. Do you have any other thoughts or things that you're looking forward to, Scott Bob?
Yeah, I mean, other than Ahsoka Weekly, I think tonight, as we're recording, tonight One Piece is gonna premiere on Netflix. Live action
One Piece.
Thinking about Clone Wars and Rebels, all the thing I didn't watch, the thing that's been holding me back is like there's so many episodes, and now I'm reflecting on it, not because One Piece is coming out. That's the same thing I hear when I tell people like get into One Piece, and I get it. There's a lot more episodes of One Piece
like
and
thousands,
we're reading than Clone Wars. And I'm using that same excuse. So I got no excuse. I'm going to go and start watching Clone Wars and Rebels. But I also recommend checking out One Piece. Hopefully this live action, it looks pretty cool. Hopefully this live action brings in more people than turns people away. It's been seeming like it's been getting only positive like comments online and whatnot. And I know the creator Oda has put a lot into it, and he's like really pushing for it. So the more I hear about that, the more excited I get. So I want to check that out. Hopefully we can talk about that next week. And because I don't know how much One Piece you know, it'd be cool to kind of hear like what your perspective is after checking it out.
Definitely, I will check it out just so because I like anime. One Piece, like you said, was hard to get into because everybody's so deep into it. Thousands of episodes. I get it, but definitely time to step your foot into it just so we can have some fun discussions. And also it's great IP. I will say my last thoughts on Ahsoka is and this is what I hope.
Yeah.
The timeline in itself is congruent. We've seen Mando in Boba Fett. We've seen Boba Fett in Mando. We've seen Ahsoka in Mando. We've seen how Andor can kind of be in and around the area. Right? I'm thinking that hopefully all of these series end up in a mashup movie that Dave Filoni is directing, where we see Mando, we see Ahsoka, we see Sabine, we see all of these characters that we only got in series come
living
together.
in a house for 30 days.
Yeah. the real world
reality TV,
Star Wars.
No, but really, I mean, that would be cool. Like what you're saying.
Yeah,
that'd be sick. And then Dave Filoni's been doing such a good. Anytime I see his name on it, I'm like, that's why it was so good.
Yeah.
I hope he gets like a huge project to do. That would be sick. And then because if anyone could figure out a way to incorporate all these characters and make it make sense, he would do it.
Yeah, and it only makes sense considering what Marvel does. Marvel's a part of Disney, so Star Wars is a part of Disney. We see Marvel's success. We've seen their formula, right? So if Star Wars can kind of learn from it and do better, like, why would you not want to watch a mashup of all of these characters? And maybe then it leads into a full reboot of the canon of the last 3 Star Wars movies, right?
Yeah.
To move it forward. Man, that'd be
sick.
That'd be dreamy. It'd be starry times, like our background. Ooh, just
look at Ahsoka.
Oh,
pick me up.
Space Jedi. Just use the Force, Ahsoka. That's why you have it.
Yeah.
But
oh boy,
let's see if we can do our sign off together and see how that works.
Okay.
So I guess thanks for sticking it with us.
The Joystick Show. The Joystick Show.